So hello again, it's Simon Wickenden from Arrow ECS. Again, I'm with Archie Dillawall from the Mysql team inside Oracle.
Hello.
Today we're going to do a little bit of a talk around security and why it's important. Which is strange because, again, we've talked about MySQL and we've talked about the fact that there are 30 million copies out there floating around of the Community Edition, which has absolutely no security in it whatsoever.
Yes.
So, security in MySQL.
Yeah, so why should you care about security and why should you care about MySQL Enterprise Edition, which offers you security? I guess in a nutshell, we're talking about best practice. MySQL is open source. So what you will find when you're talking to customers, they'll say, well, we kind of got that covered because we've got geeks who understand open source, they've got lots of different scripts, and they cover a lot of this security stuff using a little script here and a little script there, and they think they've got it all covered. But it's not best practice.
So, you say best practice, I say compliance, I say regulation. GDPR is the one that everyone's probably a little bit bored of by now, but the one that comes up all the time.
Yeah.
That's the obvious reason why people do security.
Sure. So, first thing I'll say about GDPR, MySQL will not make you automatically GDPR compliant. In fact, if any technology vendor suggests that their technology makes you GDPR compliant, they're wrong. Because what GDPR is all about is information architecture. It's all about how you look after people's personal identifiable information. And that's information, and that's business process. That's not technology. However, within GDPR, since you've picked up GDPR, there's a lot of sections within the legislation which came out in 2016. Everybody thinks it's coming out in 2018. It was published in 2016, and organisations have had 2 years to ramp up before they start to introduce fines.
Yeah, the 2018 is the start of the fines, right?
That's
May 2018.
25th of May,
teeth.
2018,
Yeah.
they start to impose fines. So people should really be compliant now anyway. But yeah, so with GDPR, there's lots of different sections that say things like you should audit anyone who's looked at any data, you should have a decent backup, you should do encryption, you should be able to monitor. So it's like you should be able to assess the risk, you should prevent a risk, and then you should detect if a breach has happened. And a lot of the tools within the Enterprise Edition actually allow you to do that.
I was about to say, so it's about knowing who's accessed your data, knowing what that data was, knowing where that data's gone, and being able to make sure that no one can take the data that they shouldn't take, right?
Absolutely. So if we sort of slice it up a bit, who has access to what? Having decent security in place, which down to the level of authorization. Am I authorized to see certain pockets of data? This all goes back to your permissions and roles and profiles within your organization, down to, is the data encrypted? Is it encrypted in backup? Everyone talks about live data. What about your backups? Are they encrypted? Actually being able to monitor this data. So what do we mean by monitor? Well, if someone's putting in any queries, anyone trying to do something called a SQL ingestion, someone putting in all these different sort of queries to pull out different types of data, getting denial of access or things like that, they will flag up when you're monitoring. And also the audit, absolutely critical, because what the audit is doing is actually showing who's looked at what. And then we have something called TDE, Transparent Data Encryption, which is all about actually keys and using third parties to actually secure data, key vault.
So that's the data arrest stuff.
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
So what you're saying is, all of these features are available in the Enterprise Edition, obviously.
Yes, and here's the opportunity, because as we've said in a few of these videos now, there's millions of users out there. They're not enterprise users, so they're not doing best practice. Governance is a question mark. They certainly can't monitor and audit their data. So those customers will now be wondering, how do we lock down and control our information better? And using the enterprise tools will show the information commissioner that they're making an effort. It isn't the end game, it isn't utopia, but it's a start, and that's what we offer with MySQL Enterprise Edition.
It's basically the tools that allow you to fit around the business practices that make up that sort of regulation.
Absolutely, and I wouldn't just stick to GDPR. If we just look at a few very famous data hacks, TalkTalk, Equifax, and I know you're thinking of Ashley Madison. Those are very bad situations where data has been compromised. If that data had been encrypted, it's still bad, and you still need to find out how it got compromised. But what you don't have is a situation where people can actually see the data. So that's fairly basic governance in any organisation. And that's the sort of message I would encourage you to be giving to your customers.
Okay. That's great. I think that probably gives a quick tour around security and why MySQL Enterprise will actually help a business with its security requirements.
Great. Well, thank you, Simon. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you very much.